That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft. That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you,
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you, I'm with you,
Anybody want to sell some water? It's not sweet.
with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm
Background. Welcome to another episode of The Void, coming to you live from the Shop Studios here in Jeff Studios, as if there's more than one. It's sort of hard to even call this a studio, but it is because there's a camera here. I think that's all it takes to make it a studio.
Seems like a studio to me.
You put a comment.
Produce the TV.
Put a comment in there if you want to argue about it. Hey, so this episode is brought to you by a special little project that I've been working on called The Natural. It is not named after a what is that guy's name? Who was in The Natural? Not Bergman. What's this guy? Blonde-haired guy. All right, I'm gonna move the camera. Here we go. I can't remember. The Natural. It's actually named after a Mike Geronimo's song. Some of you guys are familiar with Mike Geronimo. It is based. I should have this camera thing through. As you can see, I'm working in a pretty small location, But yes, this is the Natural. It is a 49cc bicycle with a handmade, custom, one-of-a-kind tank and front disc brake based on a Schwinn Breeze frame.
Ooh,
Got a nice vintage LED headlight there.
Ooh, la dee da.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. 49cc. So in Jacksonville, my Duval friends, you do not need a motorcycle endorsement for the Natural.
Not needed.
So this is just, again, one of the projects I've been working on. It is for sale right now. I have it listed for $699. $699, and I'll give you a discount if you said that you saw it on this show. Mention the Boyd. You get a discount. If you're in the Duval area, I will deliver it to you. If you live within 30 miles of the Duval area, I'll probably still deliver it to you. If you want it shipped, you're going to have to make the arrangements, and I will drop it off wherever the arrangements say within reason. All right. Well, thanks for looking at that. We're going to take a quick break and return with Michael O'Brien. Real good show coming on, happening tonight. So stick around.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, indeed.
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you, with you, with you,
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
you out. With you out.
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you out. 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 With you out.
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you out. 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 With you out.
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
With you, I'm with you, with you, with you, with you, with you,
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
with you, with you, with you, with you, with you, with you,
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate heft.
with you,
YouTube folks, I apologize. We had a 1-minute guest. All we do has rejoined us. And so he's going to jump in on some of these topics with Michael and I.
What is this? Hey! Wait, no!
Look at what James made you.
Where is it playing?
Bass for you. I'm getting rid of a bass. We haven't heard it yet.
And this is not live, man.
Oh, that's what it
He's got a APA.
Yeah, all the people tuned in. Now it's blocking everything. Huh? Hey, man, you know that window? I can see the back of the YouTube channel.
With you, I'm with you, I'm
See, if you were a set director, you couldn't miss it.
That's right. A lot of women today, they don't appreciate
Oh, it's better now.
It's over.
All right, that's it. No more podcasts. All right, good enough. Okay, I'm tired.
We'll do it live.
Okay, thank you. And Facebook friends, if you switch over to the YouTube link, I think you'll find an overall better experience. There's music, and I don't know. I'm sure some stuff is better quality. All right. So yeah, like I said, apologize. Last minute stuff. You know, this stuff is all the things that get worked out in editing and whatnot, but you get to see the special behind the scenes reality of the podcast. So here we go. A little bit cramped. There's not a lot of room in the garage. Okay, so again, welcome to another episode of The Void. We're working all these kinks out. I thought I could move here better.
Your phone is locked.
What?
The face is locked. Your phone is locked.
No.
How did that? Oh, man.
What is it such a delay?
Well, for what?
For the stream.
A delay? Oh, I don't know. The internet, the speed of light, and also processing time, I guess. Oh, snap. What's... Well, are you sure it's still blocking it? Because that has like a 5-minute delay. Because I just got through adjusting. Okay. Because, see. And now the YouTube cameras and that stuff. Can you switch to the YouTube camera? Yeah, Facebook Live people, I'm sorry if the view's not great. I'm literally like the phone is clamped to the tripod for the camera. So you sort of get the view you get. Switch to the YouTube channel. YouTube channel is much better. Go to the YouTube channel. Anyway, and just subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't do the Facebook Live thing. I mean, I'm just doing that so you guys can see what's going on. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get involved. Say some stuff. And leave some comments and all that stuff. All right. Let's see. Got that on. So today I've got Michael Patrick O'Brien with me in the studio, along with Aldi Duca. So we're gonna go, just get started real quick. I know we've had some, a couple episodes already, and things have been, a lot of technical difficulties here and there, and thanks for sticking with me. I'm hoping to be editing a lot of the previous videos so that things are a little bit easier to search and a little easier to digest and not in giant hour-plus long clips. I have to apologize to my guests and to my viewers if it looks all like we're in the jungle. It feels like it because the AC went out in Shop Studio. And so we are suffering in the swamp of Duval here in Jacksonville. But I will not sit and complain about that. We're going to go on with the show. So first, again, welcome to my guests. Aldi was here with us before. We got a little snippet of intro with him. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and let Michael introduce himself and tell us a little bit about him. And also remember, if you have something to say, have a question or anything, leave a comment. I'm going to try to monitor the Facebook Live comments, but I would go over to the YouTube channel if I were you. You could leave live comments. What is that camera moving? What was I going to say?
Leave YouTube comments.
Yes, leave YouTube comments. Also, you can, we want interaction. We're going to be talking. Aldi's looking for a confrontation, you said.
We'll get there. We'll get there. First,
I'm trying to be civilized. I've already been. Look at me.
Life is great. One love.
I'm all sweaty and gross. I'm trying to be more civilized. I've already gotten some Facebook heat for just being me on Facebook. So I want to try to keep it civil. Though Aldi, I cannot speak for Aldi. So he may say something inflammatory. And if he does, then tell him why you feel that way.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to be on the show and say something like to us, speak directly, you can find me on Facebook. If you're on Facebook Live now, you can call through Facebook Messenger, and we'll patch you through onto the show. So if you want to do that. Freddie Nieves?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? It's the podcast.
God bless you, bro.
Yeah, I'll be. And TJ's here too. Yeah, TJ's help. He's the engineer running things. Michael, you don't know Freddie, but we worked with him at a car dealership. He now is in Puerto Rico, running a car dealership himself. So he's just an amazing guy. All right. Awesome.
Freddie's one of the best leaders you'll ever meet.
Best leaders. We can learn a lot. In fact, Freddie, I want you on the podcast. You can Skype in or call in on Facebook Live. I'd love to have you as a guest and pick your brain. He's been through a lot, and he's got some great stories. Great guy, inspirational for sure. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
That's what
jump on, get involved, and all that. Do we need to adjust that leg?
I have to hold it in order to keep it stable.
Why is it? Oh, because it's on this thing.
Yeah, I needed the elevation.
You won't balance.
Down more. Push it.
There you go. Boot.
That might work. There we go.
Should we do a carbon fiber boot just for the
I think you probably understand.
Oh, see, Freddie says, sure.
Yes, good. Perfect.
That's on my front.
Well, Wednesdays at this time, normally earlier than now. I mean, we had some technical delays here and there. This place is a little bit hard to manipulate. Maybe I'll just keep the camera like this. It works out. I don't know. You guys tell me. What was I going to say? Yes. So interact, get in touch. Let us know what you think. So Michael, sort of tell us about yourself. Start at the beginning and go all the way till now.
All right.
And, you know.
The beginning to now. It's going to take us about 29 years.
Well, you don't have to be that detailed.
All right.
We don't need a minute by minute. But yeah, go, you know, the pertinent points.
Absolutely. My name's Michael O'Brien. I was born in Gaeta, Italy. Was fortunate to live overseas most of the time. My dad was in the military, so I was able to travel quite a bit, get to meet a lot of different people, different perspectives.
What branch?
He was Navy.
Navy, okay.
Absolutely. Part of 6th Fleet the whole time we were in Europe, so I was very fortunate to be able to see a lot of different people, a lot of different perspectives, and I hear a lot of people I talk to. I have a friend even locally. I asked him, he's never left the state, and he lives 3 miles from the state line. So it really made me realize
never been to Florida. Oh, so wow, really?
From Georgia, absolutely. So I've always felt very fortunate, to be able to travel and see quite a bit of the world, especially for my age. And I said to do it as a kid was really cool.
Right.
Of course, in a military family, we were there. We moved around. I was in Panama City. We moved back to Europe. We moved to Virginia. We were here. In school, of course, I was always interested in debate, science, and mathematics, everything else. I was a member of debate team, quiz bowl, chess club, French, Latin. I was president of pretty much everything that was nerdy.
Wow.
It's all about
So
that.
you were involved. You're doing stuff, right?
Yeah, I tried to be. Yeah, it's fun. And hey, you had a paid trip out of the school all the time in a free hotel
Yeah,
in a different
I know how
city
that
along
goes,
with some
man.
girls,
I joined.
right?
I remember joining Model UN when I was in Japan just because I wanted a trip to Korea.
Hey,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, of course, that's not what I told them. And I did some research. I represented Bhutan, and most people don't even know where Bhutan is.
Very cool.
I think that's still
Still a place?
Is it still a sovereign nation, or has it been taken over by China? It might be annexed. How would we even know? I think that's one of our topics.
There
But
we
go ahead. You were saying.
So traveled around a whole bunch. My dad retired in Kings Bay.
Okay.
So being there is kind of finished out high school there. Went to school at Mercer University. I studied music there. Still involved in debate. Did debate coaching. Judged it and stuff. High school tournaments, doing those things. Still did quiz bowl and everything else. I did music. Enjoyed that. Found later on that music was more of a cathartic process for myself, and that when work and music and work and like what was a stress relief for me became the same thing, that wasn't positive for me. So I decided that I didn't want to necessarily have my work be in my passion in that way.
So you were trying to make music into a livelihood?
Exactly. Yeah. I said I did music study. I always enjoyed it. I liked getting better at it. I enjoyed the schooling of it.
What was your musical vision at that time when you were making your pursuits?
So I was
what was the end game?
For me, I'm a super then I would want to be a performance solo musician, or to play this as a classic pianist or classical guitarist. So it wasn't focusing, like I said, a different genres just in that sense, or I didn't have, I guess, a specific vision, but I did want to be a solo performer.
Okay.
And that's what it would be. Was when you're a performance music major, it's of course to be as a performance piece. Guitar is considered typically a solo instrument. So like when you go with your juries, you're practicing. It's you alone on a stage in a tux and a guitar, no sound, no effects, no gain, no feedback, none of that. It's you and the guitar, and you're there for an hour on the spot with 1,000 people in front of you. It's just that aspect of it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it's
nerve-wracking,
but at the same time, it's probably real rewarding too, right?
Exactly. It's something, that you're not saying, I had a bad night, but good thing whoever covered me up. You went out there and you sounded great, they cheered, it's for you. And that. They didn't cheer for the other guy that, set the stool up, and maybe I guess you did a good job.
Oh, well, sure, right, yeah.
But, it was all you. So it's you get a great reflection of the work you put in.
I think, what I think is interesting is that journey as an artist to try to, the normal, quote unquote, normal way of sort of existing in our society is you go find a place to work, right? What is everybody's taught, study hard so you can find a good job. And then even if you're not, let's say you're going to go into the entrepreneurial spirit, with the entrepreneurial spirit, and say, I want to go and create my own venture, my own business. That's cool too, and you can find your mechanism. At the end of the day, any business is simply a mechanism for extracting profit. People are going to say I'm speaking like I'm a Marxist or something, but at the end of the day, really, what is it? It could be a car detail business. What are you doing? At the end of the day, it's a mechanism by which you would hopefully extract profit.
Well, work is they don't call work charity. Those are separate words.
Right, exactly. So, right, your idea is that you're trying to extract a profit out of some mechanism. And then when you're an artist, what people don't realize, especially business people, don't realize is that not only are you trying to make a venture, a mechanism by which to make money, you're doing that by the creative process of your mind.
Yeah, you're not
your
selling
abilities.
an extant thing. You're creating what you're selling.
Exactly. It's an ethereal type thing. It is something to be appreciated by those that can appreciate it or that it resonates with, where it's not so much a simple functional thing. Now, of course, there's creativity that comes into play with functional items and even the mechanism by which you create these companies.
Well, as you know, and we were both taught, selling is a science and an art.
Oh well, yeah, selling, right,
or
yeah.
but anything.
But even that is like sales in of itself is an occupation, and like as I mentioned before, like in the first show, we have reached levels of sophistication over the collective human experience that now stepping into things, you don't just get to step in fresh eyes for much anything anymore. They say there's nothing new under the sun, and it's becoming more and more true. Even as the boundary of technology moves, at the end of the day, a lot of times it's just an evolution of something we've already had. In fact, for a long, it's getting a little bit trickier to find really new breakthroughs. Or to really identify new breakthroughs.
Breakthroughs don't seem to be as on large scale as now, right? We see much more and more specialization more than innovation, I think. To where, so you would have, say, a microbiologist. Before, and there was such a limited scope of what you could study in microbiology
Oh, sure.
at the time.
With
the improvements of technology, well, now we've discovered there's this many aspects of microbiology.
Right.
You could be a person. Okay, I study atoms, the nucleus of atoms. Well, now you'd specialize in, okay, maybe in just a proton, or just a quark, or just up quarks, or down.
Oh, well, yeah,
it's
right.
Because of those types of, as we
even
towards
then,
specialization, but we're not making, I think, huge gains towards, I guess, deeper understanding of what we know.
Well, and part of that is the paradigm that we're in. I think that there is this overarching premise of commodification and profitability. And really, if you listen to some of the academia out there, it's the neoliberal condition that we're in. Started in the 80s, Reagan, Thatcher, and it was this hardcore dismantling of the idea of a social society. And I know that people are like, well, duh, that's what society is. Oh, is it? Read some Ayn Rand. I know, no, it's Ayn. Well, until after she died, it was Anne. Go watch an interview with her. And some Ayn Rand shit. Her vision is a society where people don't cooperate, they compete. In fact, there's almost an ethos that exists in this country right now that doesn't even exist in, like, say, the UK or even the far right in France and stuff like that, simply because of sort of the fact that there was something before capitalism. You had feudalism, or you had the Dark Ages, which had some feudalism going on. Either you were in a fiefdom of some sort, or you were a sort of ward of the church charity. But at the end of the day, you were human and were expected to not die. And I think there are literally people right now, if you go float around Facebook comments, if they're anywhere genuine in their commentary, they would be okay if certain segments of the population were to die off because they couldn't afford healthcare. Like they would say, well, if you can't afford it, then you didn't work hard enough, or, hey, sorry, that just sucks. And
capitalism of the fittest.
Go find your GoFundMe page, or go find charity to do it. And the glaring hypocrisy, or maybe not hypocrisy, but the big hole in that whole premise is charity exists now, and yet it hasn't solved the problem. So how would it solve it in the future as the only way to go? At the end of the day, we have evolved and escaped. You know, I mentioned this before, that we escaped nature. We live in this paradigm, right? This weird sort of halfway point between the natural world. We still sweat and stink and have odor glands, and we still poop, right? The natural world, we can't escape that. But at the same time, we spend every fucking waking minute trying to escape the natural world. And so it's a duality that, on one hand, depending on who you're talking to, like the Jordan Petersons of the world or some other weirdos out, I think he's a weirdo, and I would love to talk to him face to face and tell him that he's a weirdo. I mean, maybe I wouldn't say that, 'cause I don't want to hurt his feelings, but if it got to it, I'd tell him to his face. I mean, I don't want to just go around randomly hurting people's feelings. It's got to escalate.
He's a word salad master.
Look him up later.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some, like, he says some self-help stuff, which is great. You know, it's just the regurgitated self-help of everyone else. But hey, whatever. If you can regurgitate and you like his gurgitations better, by all means, whatever. But at the same time, he's creating this sort of quixotic, this Don Quixote kind of like enemies that he's fighting that aren't real enemies. And we really do need to have dialogue about real social issues. And we're talking about these things that don't exist. He's talking about the cultural Marxists and this and that. Like, who the hell are you talking about? An LGBT person just doesn't want you to fire them for being for being gay. You found out, or you found out they used to be a man or a woman once. They don't want to get fired, or they don't want to get harassed. Is that like too hard? That's not too much. Now, I know he made a big stink about some Canadian bill that said something about gender pronouns or something. You could get in trouble if you don't say the right pronoun or whatever, which I don't know about all that. And, you know, I could be possibly aligned with him on not wanting necessarily to have government compelled speech. However, at the same time, if it's simply a sort of a way to help society stop calling people what they don't want to be called, or if they could tell you, hey, I prefer to be addressed as name, and you just tell them, okay, guy or girl, or
if you want to be called Ceiling, I'll call you Ceiling.
Yeah, whatever.
It has no bearing on my existence.
Like the guy named, if there's a guy named Richard and he likes to be called Dick, and you insist on calling him Richard, then what are you? You're a dick.
There you go.
I mean, I know it's corny. It just sort of went that direction. Why not? It was like available. But anyway, I mean, there's really, at the end of the day, I mean, right? So whatever. I don't want to talk about him anymore. But it just like the Dave Rubins, the Steve Crowders, the Ben Shapiros, these people that become heroes to, especially a bunch of young, seems like young men, young white men, I feel like. But there's probably a lot more outside of that. But something about them resonates with them really strongly. And that is a componentry of what's going on in society. And a lot of those folks, really, I mean, it's the sort of Malthusian, Thomas Malthus had this sort of, I'm not going to get into super details because I don't know all the super details about it. But basically the premise was that when he wrote the book back in, I think it was the 1700s, late 1700s, I believe. Since even back then, they were worried about population density and population control and the riffraff overpopulating and and what's her name, Margaret Sanger, also was influenced in that time, and the whole of science in a large degree. If you go back to certain chunks of time in our past, a lot of science was based around eugenics, was based around this idea that class traits got passed. It's interesting. I was looking at some constitutional history, just trying to understand more about the founding of the country, so we know a little bit more about where are we supposed to be compared to what the ideal is. You know, where should America be? Should America be a place where you, even though the Constitution says we're going to promote the general welfare, should it be a place where you can't afford to live if you don't have money? Where someone could literally die because they didn't pay their electric bill? The other day, somebody did die because the electric got shut off and their oxygen couldn't work.
That's crazy.
And so, because they were behind on their bills. And so this makes a big question. You know, earlier episode, I mentioned why one of the rationale behind why I believe that despite all the rhetoric that you hear, especially now, and really I'm doing some current research right now in the point in time when the introduction of the idea of social Darwinism really came about, because it wasn't like that. Feudalism isn't like that necessarily. Prior to that, when we were hunter-gatherers, or if you look at indigenous tribes of nations, different lands before Western colonization, you will see a communal, cooperative environment. And if you look back into archaeological records and look at the pre-humans, even pre-humans, right? So not even Homo sapien yet, we are seeing group activity and even broken, mended bones, right? Leg bones. That means like you can't walk. Can a human that's healthy live out in the wilderness with no technology and no help? In African savannas or anywhere. I mean, really, there's large land animals practically anywhere that you could be dropped off. You know, wolves, mountain lion, bear. In the northern temperate climates, you go to the tropics, you got tigers and leopards, and who knows? You pretty much are made. You're basically a sack of meat and bones, you know, to animals. So you can't make it by yourself. I'm convinced. Now you'd be like, well, I had my AR-15 and my buck knife. I'm like, no technology. Naked and afraid. Shit. I'm talking about no helicopter to pick your ass up. You see what I'm saying? You can't do it. So libertarians, fuck off. You can't do it. You need to work together. We're a communal animal. One single ant doesn't live alone. It wouldn't. It lives for a little while and then dies. Right? They work together. Now, I'm not saying we should be ants in a colony and all that. Humans are different. We have dreams, hopes. I don't think ants do, despite the cartoon. I mean, we're talking about real ants.
Right. But if you can
anthropomorphize,
if you can accomplish your dreams by yourself, your dreams are too small. Any worthwhile goal takes a cooperation of other people.
Well, now, you know, when Obama says stuff like that, like, you didn't build that. You got a big business? You didn't build that. Right, and then all the conservatives went all buck wild. I remember I was working in the finance industry at the time, and it was just like, oh my God, Obama said you didn't build it by yourself. And in fact, I got a little disturbed about that because I realized what goes into making a business, which is a lot goes into it. However, could these businesses work without the infrastructure put together by society? They didn't build them themselves. Right, in order to get all the shit to build the corporation, they had to have the society there to help mobilize and get it together, and the labor and everything else too. So at the end of the day, a singular human being is not going to create a giant enterprise. And even if you did start with one person, what got you giant wasn't you alone. You had to multiply yourself through labor or through technology that was developed by someone else, right? Now, if you're a whiz person and you did it all, great. How the fuck is that? If you're that smart, then you should already know what I'm about to fucking say. Huh? Okay. Don't even have to say it. Right? No, but if you were that smart that you could do all that shit by yourself, then tell me how the fuck is that a answer for the masses? There are what, almost 200 million working available people, working age people in America. Like, or that what we're going to do? 200 million people are going to create their own enterprises. Imagine that. Imagine if everybody had a business. When you hear those people say, hey, you know, when you say, hey, you know what happened to unions? What happened to labor rights? What if I feel like I'm getting a short end of a stick from my employer? They're getting quarter over quarter profits. They're getting dividends. They're getting all of these things, and I'm still getting paid the same, and it won't keep up with inflation. What gives? And if you say, if you say some shit, start your own business. I'm like, oh yeah, great. So then it'll be like a fucking shanty town, and every motherfucker's trying to sell their fucking shit, whatever fucking shit they got, or everyone's got a fucking Amazon store, which is their own, which is basically individual capitalistic entitlement. Hey, I want to exploit children in China too. Let me put together my Amazon store. Which is really, at the end of the day, what it is. It's accessibility of capitalist paradigm. Hey, can I find the cheapest, most exploitable place and make the shit there and then sell it to people who have some expendable income for now, until we turn the America that we know into whatever shithole that we're exporting all of our shit out to, and then comparing our lavish selves to the shitholes we create. Because God forbid one of these countries tries to elect a fucking official that wants to help the population and says, oh, wait, hey, all these corporations that are raping our resources and bludgeoning our labor. Yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We want to play at least on France level, or we want to play on another, developed country level, like with dignity as human beings. Oh, yeah, it sounds like you need democracy. Wait, that's what we just did. We just elected some. Oh, no, we mean corporate democracy, where we get to decide. Like, we raise our hands, and then the Congress tells the military, or just the president, or just the CIA, or whoever the fuck, right? Because who did the military even work for? I don't even know. My dad was in the military. I even signed up. Got accepted to the Air Force Academy, actually. I didn't go. It's a different story, but at the end of the day, it makes me wonder, who would I really be accountable to and listening to? People talk about the military as if it's its own separate government. Mm-hmm. But who are they accounted to? Or how do they decide? They don't just get to decide what country to invade.
I guess technically, the president's the head of the military. And you've got Joint Chiefs.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, there's this glaring contradiction that I hear all the time about this disdain for government, but then there's this fetishization of the military, which is the armed wing of the government. Absolutely. And we say, okay, well, who's the government then?
Well, it seems to me the funniest part of that is the same people are like, well, we've got to protect our Second Amendment. We're obsessed with, we have our guns, so the government can't come and take them, so we can defend ourselves against our own government. And you hear the same people that say, oh, I don't want big government. They control too much. Everything's incorporated. Everything's run by that. But the same people who then say, and then let's double the budget for the military.
Exactly. And then they say that they're against socialism, but they double down on military socialism. It's an entirely collective thing. Like the big question, okay, if you don't believe me that the military is a socialist endeavor, how much profit does a service person make themselves? Now, I'm not talking about how much profit is leached off the government by the capitalists, the sucking on the teat of the taxpayers. I'm not talking about them, the government contractors that are stealing our money through the Congress, through the military, using our servicemen and women, our brothers and sisters, as shields to keep lining their pockets. And meanwhile, we've created this military hero worship fetish that says anything the military does is sacred, especially when it's our servicemen and women. But we don't dare trust those fucking crooked ass politicians, but they're just going to tell where the military is going to go and do their shit. That's all. So you see this weird contradictory dynamic lets them get away with whatever, because there's going to be some, like I had one person tell me today on Facebook, because I was going back and forth with this person. I'm pretty sure she's psychopathic. She thinks I'm lobbing an ad hominem, which she doesn't understand what that means. I guarantee it. Hopefully she's watching. Go look it up.
I know who you mean.
Go look it up. If you follow me on Facebook, you know who I mean. You know also that she doesn't know what ad hominem means. And you also know that she probably thinks I was lobbying that, and I wasn't. I was literally saying, go take the psychopath spectrum exam with a licensed psychologist. See where you are on the spectrum, because I guarantee you're on the spectrum. And then come back and talk to me about how you're not a psychopath. But anyway, so I'm going off on how she's psychopath. And this other guy that's also psychopathic in nature. I've worked with him. He's exhibited many traits of psychopathy. He might literally be clinical. I don't think
sitting here today. No,
I don't think she's clinically psychopathic necessarily. She's just on the spectrum. He is probably clinically psychopathic. Anyway, he gets on there and says, oh yeah, I said she's psychopathic, but I also said she would do nothing because I was trolling her about this. She posted, I wonder if you can find it on Facebook. Maybe this might not be worth it. But basically, she posted a meme with like ISIS and I don't know, Antifa and all these things, and basically comparing the Democratic Party to ISIS and all these things. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Democrat, and I don't like the Democrats, especially now after what happened this last election and seeing how things are. And the fact that if you look at their congressional records, they're bought. They're just not as hardcore, like take advantage of your ignorance like the Republicans, but they're bought. The Republicans are, I don't know if they're just lucky or what, but there's just a group of people that literally refuse to stop and think about what's happening. Now, there's a lot of Democrats like that too, and liberals that are doing that too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm telling you, it's rampant. And especially when they have that red hat on.
To me, it's fear sells better than hope.
Yeah.
Really, and then even if it's false hope or it's misplaced or everything else, or it's a manipulative tool, fear sells better than hope.
You know what I noticed? When you look at, if you watch Tommy Lauren or some of these other right-wing darlings or anyone on NRA TV, do you know the NRA has a TV channel?
Did not know that.
You know what's crazy? The NRA has a channel, okay, right? And then these shows are sponsored by the gun manufacturer, like Smith & Wesson or Glock or somebody, whoever, right? I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure Smith & Wesson did one, and probably SIG or something. Anyway, they say it's right there. It's sponsored by them. Do the NRA watchers of this, do they care that it might be biased? Do they care at all? I don't think they care at all, is the thing. I don't know. It's that's the most frustrating thing is how do you, let's back up for a second. How is this country supposed to be run? The actual fact is everybody thinks it's a democracy,
it's
right?
A
representative republic, really,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But the framers, like James Madison specifically, who really was a major architect of the Constitution, in the arguments, not in the Federalist Papers, but in the arguments for the Constitution, he continually refers to the opulent minority. Is the thing. I'm pretty sure. Look it up. I'm pretty sure that is. And I'm not Cenk Uygur telling you just keep looking up stuff. This, like I said, this isn't a fucking lecture at the university. I'm giving you tidbits, little breadcrumbs for you to go find the gingerbread house. Okay, now go look up the, what did I say? Opulent minority. That is a phrase. And that is you got to think, the founding of the United States, it didn't come from kings like in Europe, right? It didn't come from a church that turned into a state like some other places or some other theocracy that now turned into something and there's still elements of the theocracy around or whatever. We started from scratch. So it's a pretty unique situation. But at the same time, the mentality, except for maybe I think Thomas Jefferson, who actually believed that people could collectively come up with solutions for the nation. James Madison and friends, of course, they came from an elite class. They believed the elite class is a different form of human, basically, and that they should be the ones holding control and structure to the society, and then the rest of the dregs will be taken care of. And in Madison's mind, he thought it would be this gentlemanly, like this gentry class that would be benevolent upon the peasantry, and they will rule America to great freedom and liberty. And we saw how that went. Right now, what do you guys think that there's a class of people that should be the architects of society?
No, I think, again, working collectively and connecting towards that common goal. That's how we should build
Do you
society.
think, does it bother you
helping.
if someone hears you say that and they say, are you talking about communism?
Does it bother me like what, communism?
Yeah, no, I mean, if they said, well, what you just said about cooperation, that sounds a lot like communism.
Yeah, no, you don't. I don't think most people even realize what communism is.
Mm-hmm.
North Korea, that's communism. Albania used to be communism. My family suffered from it. They had no freedom of speech. They could not do this.
Yeah.
Anybody can talk what they thought. But even here today, I think thinking it's kind of illegal sometimes.
Yeah.
Not many people really think.
Because
for
what do you mean
themselves.
illegal? Is it? I think it's because they're lazy.
Or lazy. Right? It's hard to do. A friend of mine, my friend Mardoon, in Macedonia, he's funny. We talk sometimes, and we talk about thinking, and he made a joke about it. He's like, "Bro, thinking is illegal. You don't know that it's illegal to think." But it's almost there. But going back a little bit, owning businesses and what if everybody had a business or whatever, selling things, sales, whatever, you're always selling something, but if you want to, I've been reading a lot of Grant Cardone lately. You need to check him out if you know who it is. And I read a lot of books. He said that there's $1 billion for every person in the world, yet we have such poverty. And I know from being in the financial service industry, there's trillions of dollars sitting in savings accounts alone because people don't know what to do with their money. So the bank takes it because, they're smarter, those people. And they're investing it or loaning it out, averaging over 12%. That's what the market averages, over 10, 12%, but nothing but people's money, those savings accounts are not earning nothing for people. So people end up retiring broke at age 65 and we still have poverty. But yeah, there's so much money out there for everybody to have a bigger house than the White House and dress better than you name it, like King Solomon.
So isn't the market supposed to help solve all that? That's what the capitalists tell us.
Yeah, but there's these people.
If there's so much money, then how come? Why
education?
Is it
education
so
does not. Yeah, education does not exist. You think you're going to school, but you're not learning anything about life, money, health, abundance.
Why is it that we're not learning what we need in order to actually succeed?
One thing is, we will, now that we have technology and Facebook and all these things, technology, that's what my money is only invest in technology. I don't even care about medicine, all that stuff. There's too much, mindset that they did experiment in Vietnam. Placebo, placebo for even worry about healthcare too much as it is. There was a meeting this morning. So much money being spent on that. I haven't been sick in 6 years. Can't remember last time I saw a doctor.
Knock on wood.
Huh? Because I focus on truth and health. You get a new body every 11 months. You know that. Your body produces new molecules. And the truth is...
Really? Every 11 months?
Every 11 months you get a new body. So you should be getting younger. But you're thinking old, You're thinking sick. You're thinking flu season.
I think there's a little bit more to it. I think
there's a great book.
In the alleles, I'm pretty sure there's a degradation in being able to reproduce. So you're right about the cell.
Yeah, your body heals itself.
I didn't know it was on that fast. 11 months.
Every 11 months you get a new body. If you fast for a month, even if you drink water, your scars will heal. Maybe a little bit longer than a month. But your scars will actually heal.
What is your body making it out of if you're fasting?
Your DNA is programmed the way it is to
so doesn't it need base material in order to create new material?
Yeah, good nutrition and exercise and positive thinking. Like the Bible says.
Heaven. Well, I don't know. This may be where quantum physics comes in, where energy turns into mass.
Basically,
think
what it is up here,
Your
it
body
will be
changes
done
the
to
energy
you.
to mass.
As inside, it will be done on the outside. As up here, as you get your mind right, it will be done to your body.
Well, there's an interesting thing on what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a great book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Check it out. It's going to blow your mind.
Just on the nature of the reproducing of yourself. It's actually crocodiles and snakes actually don't have the deficiency that we do.
Yeah,
as far as that's why their age
lobster-
is not necessarily limited. It's actually limited by their lack of being able to acquire food to sustain themselves. That's why you'll
or
get
disease,
or disease or something. We'll get to them, but
accident.
assuming no injury.
Yeah.
There's no reason that crocodiles wouldn't live forever.
Mhm.
Assuming they could continue to feed themselves and no injury, they have a pure reproduction with no fall off because they don't have the same thing that's in our genes that
Yeah.
causes us to basically imperfectly make
Yeah.
copies.
Yeah,
It's
there's
actually
a
imperfections in our
few
copies.
animals.
that's
I think there's some
causing us.
fish that supposedly are like that.
A lot of-
Crustaceans,
yeah,
some
certainly.
crustaceans. And probably stuff like the worms, like the undersea worms. So some of those are supposed to be hundreds or if not thousands of years old. So yeah, I mean, obviously there are many. I think that's where the new breakthroughs are going to be.
You can even regrow
Is-
your teeth. You can actually make toothpaste to regrow your teeth. So there goes your dental too. That's
Well, yeah.
you know,
But even technology too, with
But yet-
nanotechnology and all that, we might be able to literally send molecular site. Did my phone die?
Yeah.
oh, still on? Still on?
Facebook Live? No, it died on
Yeah.
Facebook
Oh,
Live.
I'm trying to get
Oh, we're still on YouTube,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
man. Got two, well, at least two people, maybe. Well, at least one person watching. Is that you watching? So thank you, very special person out there watching the Void today. Tell us what you think about what we're talking about. What are your thoughts on what we are talking about?
Yeah, the first wealth is health. So once you get your health right and you're thinking right, you're feeling good, then you will attract wealth, you know. But yeah, the human body is a self-regulating organism. So meaning it's programmed to heal itself. Pills only mask and suppress symptoms. The cure lies within you. So none of that stuff actually is designed, cure anybody.
Well, but how about, I mean, there's some things.
Why
right?
don't
And
amputees regrow arms?
yeah. People, what did they even think about
At
it? A
least
whole
not
bunch.
yet.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
But
we
through
would
technology again.
right, you would need the technology to coax it. So, I mean, part of it's natural, but there's also manipulation of the natural. Because on one hand, I feel like there's something that
There's certainly something to the positive
yes,
thinking
yeah.
aspect.
So,
of
and I think, and I keep talking to my brother about this. He's getting his PhD in theoretical physics right now. So he gets deep into literally new science. And I was telling him, like, look, he's bugging out that gravitational waves have finally been actually measured. And
That's a great topic too.
but the
Talk
thing,
about space travel and all that stuff. And there's a great show. We have to talk about this. Maybe we'll do the next episode.
sure,
The knowledge of the forever time.
of the
It's-
forever time.
Of the forever time. It will blow your mind. There's 7 episodes or invitations, as they call it.
Well,
check
I'm
out
gonna have to
the-
check that out and then have
Why
a,
the
have a
pyramids,
show about
their
that.
true function, and the signs and the cave paintings and all these things. We are not.
This isn't some kind of what's it
It's
called?
real.
Ancient aliens.
Ancient alien
Huh?
stuff or something.
No, it's
right?
a whole different thing. But it's
I mean,
ancient aliens. It's
I can't 100% discount.
they
all of
they
it.
always
I
go
don't
back
know.
to the aliens. What this show is, okay, we are not advanced today as we once were. Now, when you go to time travel and you come back, so much time has passed.
I don't know if I would say we're not as advanced. We're not. We might not.
We're not the
advance
most
in
advanced.
the same way because I think
No, we're not
advancement is
even
a
close.
relative
We're not even close.
thing.
You need to watch that.
possibly. Because if there was really that, there would be more. I believe there would be more evidence.
There'd be more
left. There would
disparity
be
of the
trash. They would leave their garbage. Look how much garbage there is. If someone 500 years from now were to find even just our garbage, they'd be able to say, "Oh, they at least had this level of advancement." So even the refuse that we find is only showing certain level of advancement. Now, there's some things we might not be able to explain right now, but I'm not going to believe that they had something more advanced than that thing you're holding.
Oh,
in
they
your hand.
did. They had this. It's described on that show that I'm talking about. This is described.
The reason I would have problem with
Well, okay, I will
pyramids,
watch the show and I will see.
The pyramids,
And then
all these ancient
I will
monuments are
reserve-
actually built on the same line around the Earth. They had flight. How do they know that? They were so precise. They're in line with the stars.
They don't necessarily have to have flight. They could just align with the stars. Have you ever watched the Cosmos? But not Neil deGrasse Tyson.
The pyramids of Giza are built in the dead center of the Earth.
But have you ever watched Cosmos with Carl Sagan?
What are we building today?
Carl Sagan. We do more precise shit. We throw shit in the air
As
that's
far as building,
that
if
swirls
we maintain our
around
buildings, they'll collapse in 100 years for maintaining.
because of capitalism.
Right, okay, so they were more advanced. In other words, spiritual way, in any kind of
Maybe.
way.
I mean, would you
All
call
around,
well,
they
how do
were
you,
more
but if they were building it from slave labor, would you say they're
exactly.
more
That's what I
How do you know
say.
it's
It's
slave
not
labor?
necessarily
How do you
that.
know it wasn't? We don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
It
We
wasn't
can.
slave labor.
there's
it
a
was
lot
all
of
voluntary.
I don't
activity.
believe
It
that
wasn't
it was
about
not
greed.
slave
I will.
It was
Maybe
not about
there was
greed.
some. I don't
It was
know.
everybody working. We're going to do
Well,
this.
Ayn Rand would say, "How would you, if they had no incentive to and they weren't getting paid, then it wouldn't have happened unless they were forced." Then
they were still getting paid. It
Through
wasn't. It was getting paid for what they were doing, or
Who's
for the
funding
lifestyle they're going to
then
have.
who's funding it?
Well, there's not
Okay,
evidence
have
of
you
that in the just.
Do you do everything
I
for
mean,
money?
that's what I'm saying. Well,
Like,
no,
are we doing this for money,
not.
or are we doing it
Yes.
to make a point?
Yes, the Patreon link is in the chat.
Okay,
It's
we're doing
about-
to connect with the right people because
PayPal?
we're doing to grow this and connect the right people and
Oh yeah,
wake
no,
people
yes,
up.
right. Yeah, no, I know, I understand what you mean. That
The
there
main
might be
thing,
an
the money
intrinsic motivation. and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's a cause behind.
But at the same time, you're in Egypt. I'm sure there's plenty of things you'd rather be doing than lugging gigantic
making a
stones.
giant-
and those stones
great.
are like 10
For
freaking
what?
tons
For what?
a piece.
Yeah, why would I do that?
No,
For
we
fun?
cannot do that today.
I don't-
I'm telling you, we cannot do that
You
today.
feel like people were more morally, intrinsically motivated to move 10-ton blocks with
They
no
moved it.
hydraulics.
No, they
or
probably had
whatever
better stuff.
technology.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, but that's the
We
thing.
cannot do that today.
We absolutely can. The reason I have a problem with
Could
them
move
having
it. If we
issues,
wanted to,
the
we
reason-
could make it happen. If we collectively said as a species
The
that
only
this
thing,
needs to be done,
the only
we
thing
can
that
build
we've
it
done,
even bigger than that.
yeah,
Right now,
the
we
only
could
thing
do
that
it
we've
even
done
bigger.
now that will last as long is Mount Rushmore. Everything else
Yeah,
would
yeah,
disappear.
but that's
Like,
just
that
blowing
thing,
up and, yeah, you're right about structures and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there might be some things,
the pyramids have gone through ice ages and all kinds of crap.
the goal isn't necessary longevity.
The shit
Yeah,
that
with-
none
with-
of the stuff we've built is because, and plus, again, going back to capitalism,
Most of
unless
what we
you
do is
can-
for the cheapest. Most
Exactly.
of it's built by the lowest bidder, not
Lowest
someone saying
bidder.
this is how I want my
Right.
tomb. The biggest problem I have when people with like the ancient aliens or we say like previous technologies isn't necessarily that we don't see the evidence from the like left behinds, because it's an easy ad hoc explanation out of that. It's like, oh well, they're so advanced that they're able to dispose of their waste in a purely efficient way. You don't see any of it. What I don't see that would be representative is that if they have those type of technologies, we know the types of materials it takes for that, and we don't see this disparity or the harvesting or mining of these materials at
You know
any
what?
point in time, and it's there where we'd expect it, and those things are gone in the exact amount that we've done, and that it would show and in places where it was developed versus where it wasn't developed, it's at equal portion. So if you would have societies in different places, you'd see places where there's a general ground layer of, say, these resources that would be gone in some places. And since we see a level disposition across the earth of these types of resources where they are, that it doesn't make sense that they've been harvested at any point in time or mined or gathered by anybody using those. So unless they're using resources and materials completely absent of the earth, I don't see where there's evidence of them having anything, the materials to have created what they're talking about.
Yeah, but it was created
Out of what?
out of what? Okay.
So I believe in conservation of energy, as he's talking about. So materials don't come from no materials.
Yeah, that's where a lot of these things. You could posit the theory, and then it comes to testing where it becomes really difficult to really get down to. That's why there's still questions in the academic world, whereas there's some people that are really sure about something, but then it's like, okay, well, if they did this, then there's going to be a causal chain. Any action, it's the butterfly effect to some degree. Any action that gets taken, so let's say they do have this technology, there's going to be a ripple from that technology that's evident somewhere else. Like I said,
they're starting to find things like that.
Sure.
And one of the reasons why we don't just see them laying around is because our world civilization has started over like 5 times, if not more. But you still have these, whatever you want to call them, monuments or whatever, still standing after.
Why isn't there archaeological evidence of just the bones of these people? If you're saying, what kind of timeline are we talking? As far as you said, they restarted 5 times. So, which point are you saying furthest back technology or people came into being? Like, say, our first time that we have a civilization.
First time?
Yeah. What kind of time scale are we talking there?
Who knows? Billions, maybe. Billions. At least millions.
Millions.
Millions of years.
Of humans?
Of humans. It started over. If it was an ice age, a comet, you have evidence of these. A lot of things going extinct.
But you don't see. But
we don't see humans.
But humans are probably older than the dinosaurs.
But why don't I find human bones in the Cretaceous?
Yeah, it's not in the fossil record that way though.
What's not?
Human bones. You've never seen a human bone in any layer further enough to imply that. You'll never find me a rabbit in the Jurassic. Find me a human bone in the Cretaceous period.
How far back have we found a human bone?
Not 65 plus million years.
Well, Homo sapien is like
how far have we found them?
A few 100,000 years.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty
relative species. Still, though,
relatively.
Within a couple 100,000 years.
Yeah, but that's different than a couple million or 200 million.
Well, the problem on that is we have a continuum of history from then through now that we don't see. So, like, say 100,000 years ago through now, we have a continuum of populations. Where we have archaeological evidence of them, we even see at about 70,000 years ago a bottleneck where the population drops down.
We see pre-human species. We see evidence of hominid forms that look like humans, but their face is different. Their body structure is slightly different. Their proportions are slightly different. Mm-hmm. So, you have Neanderthal, Homo habilis. You have these different people. They found someone in China. There's a whole new, set of
there's a whole set of pygmy people
that literally that lived once. They're like little dwarves. There's giants that lived someplace in Europe or some crap. They're oddly big, not like 20 foot, but they're like 9 feet or some crap. Right. And there's different. In fact, there's evidence that Homo sapien and Neanderthal came in contact and interbred. That there's DNA evidence, and I probably have some because of my big brow.
In fact, the only people that have been discovered not to have the only people discovered have not a percentage of Neanderthal DNA that were actually Africans. Are the only people that you see without any percentage of Neanderthal DNA.
There you go. See, so in fact, there are theories, and of course they don't know 100%. Then maybe they do through whatever evidence now, but. The idea is that they're still theorizing or postulating is that Neanderthal went extinct because of Homo sapiens. That we just simply outcompeted them,
or simply just
interbred them into the Homo sapien to where we are now one species. And so, but all of that, and then no actual structures were made until Homo sapien was an actual species.
How old are the pyramids?
I don't know. Thousands of years old.
About 4,000 years old at the oldest. 4,400 for the Step Pyramid.
It's like something like that. So they're in the span of the world as an entity in the universe, which is probably a few billion years, right? In a billion, I throw this number out because we're used to talking in billions for dollars and trillions for dollars. Right. So we throw these numbers around. But I don't think you can really humanly in your brain, our little pea brain, the biggest brain, out there per. Actually, I heard that we don't even have the proportionately biggest brain.
No, that's a dolphin. Ours is bottlenose dolphins have a slightly larger percentage.
Ours is like more akin to a mouse.
And we're only using 10% of what we have anyway.
Supposedly we're really using a lot of our brains.
No, we're not.
The brain scans, the technology that you love is showing.
The more I research, the more I read, the more I feel like I'm like on a different level. Like I'm
That might feel that way, but go do
know,
the
like-
CT scan and see what they say, because they can literally see what part of your brain is working when you're looking at a thing.
The more I think, the more you research, and there's supplements out there too that have been banned. That we're talking about craze. If you guys know anything about craze, jump in right now.
What?
You ever seen the movie Limitless?
Yes.
Yeah, you're intuition.
Are you throwing in like getting people to invest in crazy shit? I don't want the SEC
No, not
to
yet,
come
not yet.
knocking on my door. Like,
It's banned.
James, are you promoting without a license?
When it hit the East Coast, it came out of
Serious
Australia.
investments?
I think all the best shit comes out of Australia. Like when it comes to stuff like this.
So it's like a mental
Even
enhancement.
good book, yeah. It opens up something, does something. It's kind of.
I don't say it's necessarily unlocking more of your brain, but it could be maybe having it at a higher function, because it's
A higher
pretty
function,
possible.
yeah.
I mean, that they
Who
can.
knows?
They've even got it now to where they can, from without you saying what it is, from your thinking about it, they can literally project the image you're thinking now.
That is creepy weird.
It's unbelievable. It's really cusp on the new age, but you can literally have them
But I think
project
this
the
all.
images of their thoughts.
I think this conversation though brings a broader question, in that what even makes you human? Because your brain waves can be read, and what does that mean? That means they're a physical thing.
Yeah, your thoughts have
Your
power.
thoughts.
Your thoughts are things. Your thoughts bring your
they're
life.
that, but
to-
really, what are they? They are
Energy.
bits of physical matter in your brain interacting with chemicals and electrical impulses through neurons. And there might be something else, I don't know, but
Gravitational waves.
But think about that. None of the, what of those? I mean, electrical signals. That's electricity. Is that alive? Is that spiritual? Chemical reactions, right? Is that spiritual? Is that ethereal? Is that what is that, right? Or physical? The cellular structure of your brain. Is that spiritual? Is that what part of you is you? The non. What is it that makes you human? That's not just a bunch of mechanical things happening. Because if I took a little piece of metal and it went in just the right spot in your brain,
You wouldn't be you anymore.
you would be a different person. People would say, you look like Aldi, but
People
you
come
are
from
not
brain
Aldi.
surgeries and other stuff and have completely different tastes. They say, I used to like broccoli. I don't like broccoli now.
So what is it
Yeah.
that makes you you? And then of the bigger, and I've played this thought exercise before. Even start at the very smallest element, right? Even going down to a gluon holding the fucking quarks together. Is that alive? We would say no. Get to that whole atomic structure. Oh, the structure of the proton. Is that alive? No.
Yeah.
The electron. Is that alive? In the valence shell. Is
That's
that
alive.
alive?
That's alive.
You know what I mean? What, the table is
The
alive?
table's alive.
Well, see, and that's where now we're having to
There's
cross into
special depths.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Now
We're
these
gonna get good at
dogs
this.
are
I promise.
alive.
We're gonna get good at this.
I don't know if my people. There's people can see Nikkei here
And
visiting
Nikkei.
us.
The only difference between this room, this table, and us is the spiritual or the soul.
Well, so I mean that goes
Well,
back
the
to my
animals
original
have souls,
point.
but we have the
where's
spirit.
where's
The-
that reside? If I can give you a pill and it will change your emotions, your thoughts, your
Why
personality.
is your soul dependent on the state of its
Who
vehicle?
are you really, and what are you? If all of that can change, are you more? You're saying you're more than the physical manifestation that's here on this earth right now? But I can
Yeah.
go and give you a pill and change everything about you.
No, you won't. You can try. Like that's why I don't do pills or other.
But even
things,
without a
because
pill, if you were-
even
if
with
you were-
like the different mindset, like we're talking about thought experiments, I do that all the time. Even right now, I'm not like 100% like how I was planning to be, and this is not me like 100%. Maybe like 25% right now. So, but you can't really.
What are you doing
But
with
you-
the other parties?
Well, it's gonna come out, But like when you find the answers that lie within you, I feel like, when you get into the spiritual, like deep inside, and you hold those thoughts captive, wherever thoughts may be, we have to. All of our brains are unique, and we have to find
those
out how our
thoughts-
own brains work.
But
We
those
have to take
thoughts
the
can
time
be
to do that.
manipulated by physically manipulating your brain.
No, there's a certain mental toughness. That's what you have to read and.
So what
study.
about say someone who's
experiment.
brain damaged? Why are they different? If they're personality and their consciousness is an emergent property of the physical being, why does the effect of the vehicle in which your soul is residing, why does the physical part of it affect your soul so much? How is the soul affected by the physical if it's not emergent from it?
But even with those brain damaged people, even like with people that are blind or deaf, like you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich?
Mm-hmm.
There's a chapter there where he cured his son by his pure.
He had some affliction.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about when I'm not 100%. He, by the demand of like he wanted, because he was so, what's the word I'm looking for? Determined and passionate about believing that he could help his son. He was able to cure his son without even any certain age. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
there's many stories, but through the group of it goes back to going back to the working together.
Yeah.
In that book, you talk about the mastermind group.
Yes.
Even somebody with a brain damage, like was a movie with Forrest Gump. It was a great movie.
Oh yeah, Forrest Gump.
Stuff that he accomplished. But even someone with brain damage,
yeah, but that
you can achieve your purpose.
What I'm saying, you couldn't
through the mastermind.
Well,
you can do anything through the mastermind.
I don't mean to say that just because that if you're brain damaged, you can't accomplish those things. I'm asking, why is your soul or consciousness affected by your physical state? Why can it change in a way that's at no choice of your own?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like, for instance, do you know why we use unleaded fuel? Why it says unleaded? Why doesn't it just say fuel? Why does it have to say unleaded fuel? You know why?
We used to have leaded fuel.
We used to have lead in the fuel. You know why?
Wow.
This is a little bit more obscure. To increase the octane.
Yep.
Okay. So instead of, sometimes we use ethanol now.
Right.
There's other additives they can use. And the octane, we'll talk. That's a different episode. All right. So they used to use lead to keep the car running right. And what they found was the lead would burn through the tailpipe, and actually it wouldn't burn, but it would go through the the engine, out the exhaust, and then enter the air. And then people were getting lead poisoning through the air. Now, do you know what a side effect of lead poisoning is? Early lead poisoning?
What?
Hallucination.
Well, there could be hallucination,
yeah.
But also anger and rage.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like mass crime everywhere. They took lead out of the gas.
No shit.
And the crime dropped.
No.
So your personality, your emotions, your feelings, even the deep thoughts, like I said, like there's a story of Phineas Gage, this old-timey guy, had a railroad spike blast through his skull, up like through his, like almost like a suicide thing, but he lived. Went literally up through the hole in his skull, went through his brain. He lived, but his wife divorced him, his family disowned him because he was a different guy. Just a different guy. Completely different. And he didn't even know what he was before. You see what I mean? So, and that's a physical manipulation of your brain. So, or it could be a chemical, or I could take a big electric thing and
just more basic.
And then now whatever thought you were thinking is like,
or just a basic thing. Like if you have amnesia, did someone vanquish your soul? Or why wouldn't you just become yourself again?
There's not necessarily a 100% answer. And in fact, I told my brother, I think that one of the newest, I think a huge breakthrough is going to reside in this field, in the field of consciousness, what even is. And there's a theory that I really want to look more into this, but I haven't found the details of it. But there's a theory that at the quantum level, right? And so at the subatomic level, we have some what seem to be receptors that pick up some kind of wave of something, some kind of waveform or energy or something. And the idea is that that consciousness might be a shared, like a frequency that you tune into. So if you're a conscious being, once you create receptors in your brain to tap into that signal, then you become, in essence, conscious. And then you got to think too, like what is consciousness? I mean, that probably is its own show too. But like, for instance,
yeah, we get into the problem of hard solipsism.
Well, but here's why this different take, because I feel like it's even more mechanical than that. We give it some like big ethereal thing, like, oh yeah, I could be creating this whole thing in my mind and da da da. And I'm like, no.
To me, that's always arrogant, because it's implying that, you know, like, okay, so I wrote
in your mind too.
Well,
I'm just in your mind.
Well, just to think that if it's truly hard solipsism, that I'm the only one, to me is such an arrogant thing, because you're giving yourself credit for every great book, every symphony, you know, all this. It's like, so it's like, that's all from you.
Subconscious for your consciousness. You know? Yeah, I think so. I think that's silly too. But here's what I'm getting at though is there's a great documentary called "What Plants Are Talking About," I think, or "When Plants Talk."
I think I've heard.
And it talks. The crazy thing is it talks about how through the I think it's the hyphae network, the network of fungus in the detritus of the floor of the forest connects all of the forest trees. So they do a nitrogen exchange through the fungus. And the fungus gives nitrogen to the plant, to the big tree, which nitrogen you can run out, and that's why you have to use fertilizer. A lot of it is because of nitrogen. They run out of nitrogen, the freaking fungus pull it out of the air, which is mostly nitrogen, and they are able to fix it to the soil so that it can be absorbed by the plant. In return, the fungus gets some like nutrients from the plant. Meanwhile, there's a whole fungal network. What they found is that plants, like that trees, when you chop a tree down, it sends a message to the rest of the forest through the fungal network. So not the roots of the tree. A tree could be sitting way on the hill and their roots stop. And there's another tree somewhere else and its roots are 10 feet away. If the fungus network connects, and you don't ever get to see it unless you lift up those leaves and see that net literally looks like a net of white, nasty, looks like fungus. Right? Not mushroom caps, but like this weird funk. Anyway, it travels through that. So in a way, is that consciousness? I'm being chopped down. Watch out. Or, you know, just to let you know.
It's something interesting I actually saw just a couple of days ago on it. I can't remember what they were calling the mold. I think they were calling it the blob. But
slime mold?
It was a slime mold, but they were calling it the blob, that, you know, it actually probed retreats and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they actually said it always finds its most efficient path. So what they actually did is they created a place where it could grow in the shape of Japan, right? And in less time, obviously, than it took to develop it. Within, I think, one day, it completely recreated the entire highway and rail system that exists actually in Japan as the most efficient.
No way, really?
They did, yeah, super cool. And the mold did it on its own, just by probing and going on there. So there's definitely, I mean, there's more than what we understand going on. Plants, of course, they're communicating. They've got to.
And that, because the slime mold is really, in a way, I don't know if it's a colonial thing or what, but it doesn't have a brain. There's no ganglia, even. There's not even a rudimentary brain or nervous system.
Actually making a decision.
Right, exactly. It's a communal thing, in a way, sort of. A cellular mass. I mean, it's almost not even a functioning organism per se. It is, but it's like, not a structure. I don't know. Anyway, but I think if you take that or this, I think it's a wild tobacco plant. If it's getting attacked by a bunch of caterpillars, it will actually change the flower, the way that it like if it's getting attacked by too many caterpillars because it's been pollinating moths at night, it will actually stop pollinating moths at night and switch to a daytime flower and pollinate through hummingbirds. That way, the moths, when they become adults, don't have food and they die off and they stop laying their caterpillar eggs, right? And then when but then the question becomes, well, why not just give it the hummingbirds the whole time? And so there has to be some kind of benefit to doing that. And one of them,
It's all game theory.
Yeah. So, but if that's the case, the plant has no brain. How does it know what benefit is? How does it know that it's a caterpillar eating it and not a grasshopper? Now it does. The reason it does know that is because a grasshopper doesn't have the same salivary composition as a caterpillar. If you put the caterpillar salivary juice on the leaves and cause damage, it will simulate that and it will produce the effect.
Yeah, I don't know that it necessarily knows in any way sense. I mean, like if it's causal in that way, I mean, one domino doesn't know another domino is about to hit it, but it's still
right. And that is you exactly brought up my point, is thinking of this. I mean, there's even more complexities to it.
So much of our labels, we think of things in labels we've already created, and I think sometimes fill it into that. We use labels like know or acknowledge or it's aware, and
it's these things that we learn, these new things. Like for instance, going back to the wild tobacco, if the caterpillars are eating it during the day, it will produce resin balls that have a special chemical. And the chemical, once digested by the caterpillar, has to be digested by the caterpillar, chemically changes, and then it becomes a volatile oil kind of thing. And it basically creates a scent that attracts the wasps that eat the caterpillars, that lay their eggs in the caterpillars. I mean, and then there's also one where if it's too many grasshoppers eating it, the saliva of the grasshoppers triggers it to release a different pheromone, which attracts freaking lizards. So this thing with no brain is able to react to its environment somehow, some way. How did it develop it? That's an interesting question. The second question is, okay, so it looks like it might be sort of like this puzzle, this like a tripwire, like a booby trap. Once this tripwire goes, it becomes the, what do you call that device? Like a like the cat and mouse trap thing.
Oh, Mousetrap, the game.
But there's a name for one of those things that goes through all those iterations.
Well, yeah.
Damn it! Somebody out there might know what that's called.
Mousetrap game.
But anyway, it like this something. I can feel it in my brain. But the series of events unlocks and
causal chain.
But how do you know that consciousness isn't just that multiplied exponentially to some number?
Well, we're finding out that they think it is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not quite as ethereal as maybe, but there might be some extra thing. That's what I'm wondering.
Recent studies that I've read in Free Will, they've actually found that your mind has made the decision as to what you're going to do before you're aware of that choice. They've actually measured, like when you're, I don't remember exactly the method of them doing it, but they were able to show, and it's not by a lot, so there's some problem because it's such a fine measurement of the difference in that, but it's been showed several different studies now doing the same method that you're actually making the choice before you're consciously aware of it. Well, so it's almost as if it's determinism is what we call it, to where basically the arrangement of your atom's brain and everything that's predisposed to a decision based on an input.
Is it necessarily that? Or is it going along with the concept of when you are thinking about something and you are talking to yourself, who is talking to whom? And is that talking, because your brain had to have created, if the talking is from your brain to your brain, maybe to another part of your brain, I don't know, but then that decision to think the thought before it's verbalized in your brain had to have already been thought by your brain in order to actually be thought.
How do you think me first without the me thinking of me?
Yes.
How do you get that? I think therefore I am. So who's doing the first thought? Yeah, choosing the thought.
Exactly. So because you can't just, like when I'm talking now, technically that brief moment prior to the words coming out of my mouth is probably the internal voice saying those things. And instead of me thinking to myself in the internal voice, I'm just letting it out. You know what I mean? But the fact that when you're analyzing something, you're literally talking to most people, I found anyway. They're talking to themselves, talking themselves through something. Who is talking to what? and then that, you know, and that's what makes me. But I don't want to say that's determinism per se.
We'll say like, you know, we'll say it's determined. Okay, so I'm predisposed to it, even if free will's not free. Like, you know, if we are determined, and they say, well, then I'm not choosing. Well, you're still even if every time one of those determined choices are made, you're still the cumulative self of that last decision. So I think even if you're not aware of it, once you've made the decision, then you verbalize it, you can change your thought based on that. So are you shaping yourself by your thoughts about your determined expression?
I mean, it's right. A lot of this.
Yeah, I mean, what's shaping what, you know? I mean,
right, and then some of it's like, well, how much of it is how we're trying to dig into sort of potential nature of thought versus the realities of thought in the actual world. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. I mean, these are the big questions that people think about. But like, hopefully, the audience out there is thinking with their internal mind, or not. I don't know. Can you think of a concept without your voice inside your mind thinking it first? And I'm glad. So first of all, I just want to say I'm glad that by expressing that I have this internal voice that I think thoughts through with, that no one thought I was crazy, and that other people apparently have this voice too.
I'm the crazy.
Because how else would I know? I mean, really, like, how would I know that you haven't? Maybe you just think your thoughts and they just instantly happen.
I think some people do.
They might. They might.
Oh, what's always interesting to me, and like, you know, there's those certain thoughts where it's like when you start to think them, it's almost like looking at the sun. It's like almost hurts to think. I think of how do you think and not words?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because an animal's thinking by all accounts, but how do they organize that thought without a word or a label to that thought? How do you pure emotion? But how do you make a decision on anything if you're not realizing, having some sort of association with it? And that's always like, how is that going on? It's mind blowing.
And it's part of
unless it's pure instinct and reaction. But then are we the same?
Well, even that. How do you even know how to experience pure instinct and reaction without your internal voice noting it?
Yeah. So it's like that's always a crazy thought.
Like fear, like you see a monster, that's pure instinct and reaction and all that. But your internal voice is still
fear. This is fear. I'm scared.
Right. And I guess when you feel those visceral things, it could be those visceral emotions that you don't. That is maybe a way that you think without words, but it's still a manifestation in your body. Usually, body reacts right to something.
There's so much we have to talk about. Like the animals, you know, they go with nature. We tend to, I don't know. It's so hard to explain. Like, you see animals' schedule of how they live or the way they live is by nature. They don't experience stress. They don't experience sickness.
It's a different kind of stress. They do experience sickness. Sure they do.
Not wild animals.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why the ones that get eaten are usually sick in the week.
What kind of sickness? Like flu?
Yeah.
All kinds of sickness.
Whatever shit. Dude, how do you think there was flu before? You don't think flu existed before humans? Flu,
influenza is a demonstrable thing.
Viruses were one of the first things that ever developed on this universe, probably. It's just a packet of DNA. And then flu or some version of the flu.
They have isolated.
Has been around since before. So yes, dogs can get the flu dog flu.
There's
avian flu.
Yeah. What? Right? I've never had a dog that had the flu.
Well, then good for you. You're good. Then lucky.
Maybe it's to let my dog run outside.
I mean, they don't really have flu the same way. We call it different shit.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not the same shit.
But they do get afflicted with sicknesses.
Maybe there are interspecial diseases.
Yeah, and like my dog's got cancer, liver cancer, and he's got a bunch of other tumors.
Okay, if he was a wild dog, would he have that?
Yeah.
You sure?
Hell yeah.
Okay, how about rabies?
Rabies is a wild.
Rabies is something created in
Affliction.
wild animals that you can contract from them,
Yeah.
and so it's not that they're getting it from us.
But
we get it from.
Does it affect them in any way?
Absolutely, it kills them.
Absolutely. Yeah, they die. Then.
Makes them manic. They foam at the mouth. The similar symptoms that what humans would have when they have rabies.
The reason why you don't, if you're a zoologist, they would. A zoologist would be like, dude, what are you talking about? I spent 2 years out in Africa and I saw all sorts of sick shit. You know what happens 10 minutes later after they get sick? Fucking lion gets them. They can smell that shit.
Right.
They can. What do you think?
Well,
The
if lion
hyena.
gets
What
it-
do you think they're doing all day? They don't watch TV. What do you think?
Yeah.
That pride of lions is chilling, right? But they're also looking. They're watching. They don't watch fucking Family Feud. They're watching
Neither
the
do
wildebeest walking, and that motherfucker looks like he's limping.
They
Right.
should be watching Family Feud.
That motherfucker looks like he's got snot coming out of his nose. He must be sick,
It's a good
right? Oh, I can hear some loud wheezing over there. There must be some
does the
lung
lion get some
affliction.
Does lion get
Maybe, maybe not.
Eating that depends on whether it's
Depends
something
on the
that
affliction.
replicates it with the lion's
Hey.
DNA.
That brings up a really good story. They're going back, and this ties into our current nature and the society
It
of
just we stress
cooperation.
ourselves way too much.
No, we do, and I that's the capitalist paradigm. Here's why. Because there's research shows that during feudal times, where you had to give most of your shit to the king, you had more vacation time and more off time than now.
I think it's more about not even the choice. I was just watching, what's it called? A Wild Wild Country. I don't know if you've seen this documentary on
Mhm.
Netflix. It's pretty freaking cool. It's about this cult that started in India. I can't remember the name of the guy or the actual type of the cult, but they end up moving to Oregon and basically like take over a town and county and whatever else. But they have these people, and they were there, and they built a community in Oregon, and they built an entire town. None of these people were paid, and they worked their ass off, 18-hour days. But they all of them talk about they weren't upset, they weren't stressed by it, they weren't mad, they weren't tired that they were doing it because they're doing what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't work an 18-hour day, no pay, no anything else, but they're creating something self-fulfilling, something that they wanted to do, and created that. And they were happy to
But
do it.
in
Right.
that case, it was a communal experience,
Oh, yeah.
right? So I mean, it really is the capitalist paradigm with the fact that, and I'm not talking about free market. I'm not saying we should be communists. Capitalism is
Yeah.
a big different. I'm not talking about capital C capitalism. When you're such a big company that you can buy a politician and get a special tax break, or you can
That's the freaking
force a town to take your amendments.
Exactly what you're
And that is the capital C capitalism. I'm not saying that Samsung shouldn't compete with iPhone.
Well,
I'm saying that there shouldn't
Yeah.
be that Foxconn shouldn't be making fucking suicide nets on their building because people hate their lives so much that they're killing themselves at work. That's a fucking problem, and that's capitalism. It's not the free market that causes that. It's a capitalist. It's the fact that we are willing to export that shit out of our town and put it in China and pay them that low wage for that, which is a travesty. If we're going to play tariff games, why don't we put tariffs on and demand human rights and labor rights? Oh, because it wouldn't be profitable as much, right? And that's what drives it, and that's what makes us. We're competing with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going backwards in our labor relations and labor progress that we've made all this time. Because if you had a proportionate share of the produce that's being made by the amazing machine of capitalism that we are living within, then we wouldn't have this problem. It's the fact that the company can make $1 billion in profits and still lay your ass off.
Yeah.
You don't get the billions in profits. You don't get a shit of that. You just get whatever little bit that they were able to weasel out of you, because always the thing they never tell you, the capitalists never tell you, the universal equation. What does time equal? Money. If you don't have money, you don't have time. So when you got a mortgage coming and you know you got a job that you could go to, and the capitalist says, you know what, we want to pay $1 less in this city. Until you guys staff it up, we're not going to open. How long will it take? How many mortgage payments until you get kicked out of your house where you'll take $1 less to go work there? If it's the major employer in the town and they grease the skids to make it happen. You see what I mean?
So work hard for your employer, learn what you can, and also work to
So that way you
build.
can steal that shit and go out your own and make it.
Well,
a
really, what
cooperative.
you want to do?
Make it a cooperative so you don't exploit your workers.
Yeah, there's
stuff.
a great question of that, I think, because I gotta run. I could be virtually maybe. I got a half an hour drive home, but a great question I read today.
So I'm at that fairly soon as well.
Yes.
I'm
So
an
it sounds
hour
like
and 15 minutes.
our cast will be ending
Yeah,
shortly, but
so-
on a couple notes then.
Yeah, the question is, who's got my money? So who's got your money? That's one of the most effective ways to create wealth. You gotta help somebody with your unique services, and you find out what that is. And someone will pay you for that.
Wouldn't you prefer to be able to find what you truly want to do and then
Exactly.
But that's the thing. What if I need to make money tomorrow and I can't necessarily hone my
But it
skill
doesn't
set?
happen overnight.
For that thing that
You're already
that's
working
where.
on that.
Well, yeah, but I'm also starving and I'm possibly going to lose a house. But you see what I mean? So it's the paradigm. It's the contradiction of go start your enterprise, chase your dreams. You could do it.
Yeah,
But we don't want to pay you for it. I know you made that, but I don't want to pay you for it. I mean, I could buy this new one over here.
No, if for books like Think and Grow Rich, for that book, Think and Grow Rich will help you find what God put you on earth here to do.
But do you think it's always about what's profitable? What if I
It's
just
not about
like
profit.
to?
It's about truth. It's about helping others achieve their unique purpose. It's about progress. It's about
Sure. And I know he
going
talks
to
about
Mars.
the best way
our
to
problem
get
is-
help or to be rich is to help others, and the more people you help, the more you will.
Yeah,
return.
any worthwhile goal. Your
Right.
dream you cannot do by yourself.
but
When you
then
find out what it is, you need people.
But that
we
that
need to
But
becomes-
that point's like trickle down economics almost. Like, we'll keep giving this guy who's really at the top and he's the job producer and he's going to be the person that outscrews. We'll keep giving him ways and means to be able to help others. But what if he just keeps it for himself?
No, without you, he has no job.
But
like
they don't
with-
feel that way.
No, they feel that way. No,
As long as you're
I
not
don't want
the
to
last
name
one.
names on camera. I know two people.
Like
in
Jeff
the car
Bezos
business.
don't.
The
care
guy
about
I
those
worked for,
people.
right, and the guy I'm working for now.
Yeah.
Okay, one guy owns how many dealerships? The first one, compared to the second one,
I don't know, a couple.
and compared to
I don't know who you're talking about.
okay, this one was like 20 something. 20.
The one you're working for now?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Because the way they push up people, they treat people, they put people first.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. There's the other guy.
You have no business without your
Two,
people.
maybe
Your people are gold.
two,
You have to
three,
treat them. I was
maybe.
just saying, treat them as if
Treated like a lady.
treat them as you never want them to leave. But
Oh, yeah, right.
But
Well, treat
Or
people like
before or not.
humans, and like actual
Yeah,
dignified
why
human
is
beings.
Coca-Cola so? One example, I give you millions of companies out there. Okay, Coca-Cola was one.
I mean,
This guy took this guy out of I think it was Puerto Rico. I don't know if I'm mistaken. He had no idea about the business or the industry. He took him because he had a vision. I'm going to retire one day. I don't want my stock to go
so
down.
why did he choose this guy with no experience?
Is my point exactly. He took him to every meeting he was going to because
Well,
he saw his
why?
ambition, because he's a very ambitious person. You look into the story.
Wouldn't he
look
have
back
had
into it.
experience of some sort if he was really ambitious?
Not in this field he did, but he was very ambitious, wanted to learn, and he took this guy to.
How do I find a corporate sugar daddy like this? I'm very ambitious, and I really want to
I
learn.
got one for you, and when we got something.
you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll-
I don't know if I
Yeah,
really
well-
want to do that, though, at the end of the day.
Anyway, Coca-Cola's so profitable now, and the stock goes higher because of you found a
Sure,
replacement.
right. Good leadership principles.
Good
right?
leadership, yeah. So same with this guy. He has found a replacement already. His business is going to continue to grow,
Sure.
and he puts people first. He listens to people. What's going on with them? You push people up. A.L. Williams is probably one of the best coaches when it comes to this, like coach mentality. Not manager. Managers do the right thing, but
well, they have that saying.
managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing.
Right. I don't.
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't
You
know
do
that.
things right as a manager. You manage things, but leaders lead people. Managers just manage things. Tell
Yeah,
you what
sure.
to do, but they're behind.
But
Their
I
leader
do-
leads by example. Things like that, and they're investing in you. And they will feel happy or feel more enthusiastic, energetic, and you want to work.
Sure. Right.
Your company.
Isn't it crazy that more? Do you feel that where you work that they really value your input? And I don't know if you want to say.
But now you have to
Maybe-
work on
maybe-
what you want to
Maybe this will
do.
be like
Oh,
some,
no,
this
it's
is-
fine.
some input for them. But I mean, just in the general
But
sense
you can
of
get
the
laid off
corporate
just like that
culture.
too. You can get laid off. So that's why you have to really there's no good job out there. You gotta really find out what you want, what sets your soul on fire.
But if it was really a partnership, then there should be good jobs everywhere. Because if there's good businesses,
I
there
think
should
I
be
have a good job, but compared to what I really want to do, I want to learn from this guy. I want to help him. I want to meet good people. I met you
So
through a job.
Wouldn't that be?
Right?
I know
And you met him through a job.
You know,
that we
that's
were gonna
happened chance. You know, I mean, I can meet people anyway. I mean,
No,
yeah,
you never
I
meet
haven't.
anybody by accident.
But put it this way, I mean, no offense to you guys, I would rather not have had to take those jobs that I didn't want to do. But I
Me
did
neither.
that because we live in a
Yeah.
system that requires it. And here's the thing. Even if I didn't want to, because there's a point where I'm like, you know what? I feel like this whole, even building my stuff and doing my expression of mechanical art or whatever you want to call it, I was like, man, this is like, I'm basically making toys. I'm on this earth and I'm making toys and I'm going to die. Is that what I'm supposed to do with my life? And then I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Am I going to go find some job working for some guy doing what? And then die? I'm only here once for a limited period of time. And I'm probably my midlife crisis is less about buying a Corvette and more about figuring out what the fuck am I supposed to be doing right now? Because I feel like no matter what career I would have been in, it would have been at this point a waste to me. Because almost everything I feel like is frivolous compared to what I could be doing somehow, some way, in the potential of here, put it this way. I'm too old to go to the military. I'm too old to do anything where I could really dedicate, like, say, my life, quote unquote, take this big risk to do something. What can I do now to dedicate myself to it? And it would be the right thing. And that to me becomes.
That's a good question.
Yeah, but it's also shaped by the capitalist paradigm. Because if I don't figure out something that makes money, then I can't live.
I mean, it's illegal to go live in the woods.
I can't opt out. People say, "Well, just go live on your own."
Yeah, you can't just go waltzing.
I can't, fucker.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, even if I wanted to live, there's an article about recently, a thing floating around on Facebook about some homeless guy on the beach, and I just put in there, just joke, trolling the thing. I was like, tries to escape capitalism, and now his existence is illegal. So basically, I don't want to play your game anymore. So yeah, I don't need a house. I don't want any of this shit. I don't want a job. I don't want to do anything. I'll just go survive off the land. But I'm not allowed to.
Whose land?
Whose land? It's either privatized or even if it's public, I'm not allowed to live on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't opt out. And that's why in the new nation that I propose, and I'm calling it that, which we might have to have a revolution. If we don't, it'll be political revolution. And what are we going to replace it with? The new nation. And in the new nation, the notion that you might die if you can't figure out how to make a living happen wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't exist. And you'd be like, well, how are you going to pay for it? The fucking major corporations that use the populace to make money will pay for it. Either they'll pay for the system that I propose, which is a different episode. And it's not even that expensive, and we could do it, and it'll work. And it involves making people work to survive. But the thing is, you wouldn't necessarily die if you didn't make it in capitalism. Whereas right now, if you got a full-time job making minimum wage, you better shack up with some people because you can't live in a place right now on it.
No.
And if you're not even like us, and this is the craziest shit. If you were a slave, what would you need in order for the slave master to get to use you tomorrow? What would you need?
Food, water, shelter.
Food, water, shelter. Under capitalism right now, you can't even get that. If I if I couldn't, not me, but let's say I was making minimum wage and I couldn't afford shit, and I didn't have food stamps and stuff, that would be, you know, someone would have to basically be homeless or shack up with a bunch of people in some place that they could afford, and then try to commute their way to work wherever that may be. And so it'd be you actually are living under slave conditions if you can't even afford food and shelter with what you're getting paid. So that, I mean, that shouldn't happen in our nation, I would imagine.
No, especially with trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
In the savings
So
accounts.
on your to your point, yes, you should be entrepreneurial. Go find something. Why not?
Yeah.
Because money is a good, to some degree, a good measure of, you know, like whether or not people value you. But then again, you could spend all your time helping the homeless and building houses, or you could sell child porn. Where are you going to make more money? So does money necessarily indicate value and worth in our society?
Yeah, the more we learn, the more we're gonna earn, and the subject of money, it's a big one. We're gonna have to do like a whole episode on money, maybe the next one.
Yeah, I mean, so having worked in the finance world, I understand a lot of the machinations of the economic and finance thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also feel like the layperson is, even when they give their money to a supposed insider like an advisor or something.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey is a good one to watch and listen to. Dave Ramsey.
You're working in a paradigm that's not made for you. It's simply not made for you. You know, and one of the things that really opened my eyes to that is, I used to teach people how to pass the licensing exams for the Series 7 and stuff and all that stuff. One of the, you know, these, and most of them are pretty simple concepts. The finance people out there be like, oh, it's Series 7, I ain't nothing. You had to learn some basic shit, right? One of the concepts that that really was a light bulb epiphany moment that really pointed out that I need to look at this from a different perspective is when I was teaching the odd lot theory. You guys know what the odd lot theory is?
No. Okay,
so stocks are sold in lots of 100 shares. So they call it a round lot. So if I'm going to buy a round lot of, I don't know, name a stock. I think Google round lot might be different. I don't know. Google is really expensive. Yeah. It might still be $100. It's probably $100. I mean, 100 shares. Lockheed Martin will be 100 shares is a round lot. Now, if you buy 2 shares of Lockheed Martin, what does that imply?
2 shares?
Like, for instance, if you go to the grocery store, how many incremental eggs can you buy at a time?
A dozen.
Usually a dozen.
Yeah, you can get
half
6
dozen.
somewhere.
You might get maybe someplace you can buy a individual egg at the bodega or something, right? But if you're at Publix, you get like half dozen and dozen.
Right.
Maybe, right? What if you came up and you're like, how much for 2 eggs? What is the implication?
Are you gonna drop them? What do you mean?
No, like here's a half dozen. I come up to the cashier. I'm like, look, I don't want all these eggs here. I just want 2 of these here eggs.
Yeah.
How much is 2 of these here eggs?
Oh, you can't afford the other ones?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What's the implication? That you can't afford it. You're too small of a buyer to even buy a half dozen eggs. You can only buy 2 eggs. You can't even buy half a lot of eggs, right? A round lot in eggs would probably be a dozen, right? We could probably agree on that.
So there's a minimum purchase.
It's sort of a minimum. You could buy a fractional share. You don't have to buy, mutual funds you can buy a fractional share. But like a stock you can buy down to an incremental 1 share, right? Is the lowest generally. But a round lot means you're buying the increment that is the generally acceptable size of what we do in the market. So if you're buying 2 shares, you must be a small-time investor, probably not sophisticated enough to really be dabbling, right, at all. So odd lot theory would postulate or say that in order to be successful, a strategy is to see the odd lots and do the opposite. Because the uninformed lay people, clearly don't know what they're doing, and they're reacting to stimulus that's either behind the curve or something that's probably not real anyway, right? Because they're lay people and odd lotters.
Yep.
We do the opposite. Now, let me ask you, do you think that the major institutional sophisticated people are more likely to move the market with their purchases and movement and sells, or these little tiny odd lotters, even in aggregate? These little tiny, who's going to really move the market with their activity? The big guys, the institutional commercial guys, or the individuals?
Definitely the institution.
Definitely institutional. So let's say all the odd lot little guys are like, oh, we should sell. Oh my God, we should sell. You're like, all right, it's time to buy, guys. Right? They're going to wait for them they'll see the sell-off. They'll watch the sell, and they'll try to see if that's the right time, and then they'll start buying it back.
Well, they do a buyback, yeah.
Right? They'll start buying it, and then what? Then what'll happen? What will happen when those odd lotters saw the share? See the share price go up. What are they going to do?
Rebuy.
They're going to get in and buy. Right? So the odd lotters are buying now. So when the odd lotters are selling, you be prepared to buy. When the odd lotters are buying, be prepared to sell. Right? So anytime the odd lotters, normal people, right, are trying to do some shit, right, they will purposely do the opposite. So it's not that you're just made bad choices. If you're moving along with the rest of what you feel like is society, because you read the fucking Wall Street Journal like every other fucker did this morning, and you went and did the same shit every other fucker did this morning, the institutional people that already made their moves last night before Wall Street Journal did their article are looking at you like you're a schmuck, and your advisor like you're a fucking schmuck, and they're doing the opposite shit. I used to see that happen all the time on fucking, what's his name, Jim Cramer. I was working at the brokerage firm. Some idiots would call me up because Jim Cramer said some stupid shit, and then they buy some stock. And guess what I could see? Because I had real-time stock monitoring. I watched a fucking spike as Jim Cramer was on the air. And guess what the fuck would happen immediately?
Yep.
Right? Let them buy. Okay, I'm going to sell. Boom, boom, boom. Even if I don't have the fucking shares, what do? Sell short.
Yep.
I know it's going to drop. It drops every night. It spikes and drops probably $1, $2 spread. Multiply that times a couple thousand shares.
Yep, cleaned up.
Just for watching Jim Cramer and every fucking stock he said. Whoop, 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 whoop. So, sure, it could be used to make some money. Sure, people made some gains.
Yeah.
Sure, it's gone up and da-da-da. But how do you hedge yourself when you have another massive market downturn? When the banks are fucking off,
let's narrow it down.
All of that, and then they come again to the suckling teat of the government for help.
Yeah.
Then what? When do they get bailed? When does your 401k get bailed out? It doesn't. When your IRA gets eviscerated because the capitalists decided they want to fuck off. Then
I might play with Forex, trading money or whatever.
And then Forex.
Okay, yeah.
You got like guys like Soros. You got you have national banks involved.
That's another topic. To narrow it down, we're thinking creating wealth, right?
And then you got the fucking cryptos.
Yeah, creating wealth. You would.
It's all scam.
For retirement, for whatever 401k, whatever you're talking about, to retire early, because 95% of people retire broke at age 65. Okay, 54%.
In a civilized society, should that even be a real worry?
It should not. But let's finish the quick money topic, and then we'll make a whole episode.
Yeah, we probably should be wrapping up.
I think, yeah. 54%. If you follow 100 people, this study has been done every decade or so since 1920, since the 20s and 30s. If you follow 100 people from age 25 to 65, 54 of them out of the 100 will be dependent at age 65. And we're in the wealthiest country in the world, or whatever. With all the opportunities and information. Okay. Best place to learn and to
they shouldn't have to deal with that.
So they shouldn't have to deal with that. 54 dependent. 36 will be still working. Old people, like you see them at Walmart or whatever. Okay. 5% would be dead at that age. You know, people die. Some people die. 5% would die at that age. Only 4% are okay with $1 million at age 65, and only 1% are wealthy with $5 million over.
So that means the system's not working.
Okay, and
for the majority of people.
And those 1% didn't hit the lotto. You know, some do work for people. A lot of them are business owners, entrepreneurs.
But
most of them, it's a proven fact as well that 80% of all wealth is inherited.
Huh?
Yeah.
Most wealth is inherited.
Mm-hmm.
The number one way that people move from blue to white collar is normally through real estate. Is the way that people do it on their own. But almost all wealth is inherited.
Yeah, I haven't actually read the book yet, but what's his name? Varoufakis. I don't remember.
I don't know about
name.
most wealth,
but he wrote a book just now, recently, just came out with it. Yanos Varoufakis. Anyway, he was the Greek prime minister for a period of time during the.
I know you're talking about. I can't say his name either.
When the Greek crisis happened, and he outlines what happened, how the Greek economy was held hostage, and all of these different things about being put into debt and etc. But then the other part was this notion that of the self-made person, and how many times these major wealth, what they would call wealth creators or whoever, either inherited it or they found their way through some network or through some mentor or something. Not so much that they just did some work 24 hours a day for 2 years and sweated and da-da-da. It wasn't
very
that.
little of it's from hard
Very
work.
little of it was actual. There are those stories, but it's a very, like 1%, 5%, little percentages are actually put in the gumption and do all the work and do the little red hen from the seed to the bread all the way by themselves. But the rest of them are like, hey, I have a bakery. I'm getting old. You want to run it? You know what I'm saying? It's the little red hen story on steroids. It's like, not on steroids. It's just like skip the whole moral of the story. Do you want a fucking bakery or not? You're my son. You get it. Or I hate my son. I like you more. Why don't you just take
it's as simple like I could fuck off and do nothing when my parents go, like I'll inherit 3 restaurants, and if my grandma passes away, I'm rich. Doesn't matter what I do.
And that happens, and it's a natural process.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't just disappear. The wealth doesn't just, even though there's estate taxes and shit like that, it doesn't just vanish unless it goes into probate and da-da-da. But most wealthy people aren't going to let that happen.
They're also better with money, and they do different
Says
things with
who?
money.
Says who?
Says who?
If Trump, if you had the same money and opportunity as Trump, I think you would make more money than Trump.
I think if you have $1 billion, you can
so.
lose a higher percentage of your wealth than if you have 10,000 and still be okay and be able to recreate that same wealth.
Did Elon Musk have $1 billion?
No.
Does he?
Scratch. Start from scratch.
Sure. Okay.
Steve Jobs.
Okay. Well,
not
are
necessarily
these normal people?
What do you mean normal people?
How often do you run into a Steve Jobs? Have you ever met Steve Jobs?
Dude,
I haven't met Steve Jobs, but I guarantee that he's a little bit different than. How about Elon Musk?
Yeah, we all have these different things.
Do you think
they know what they want to do?
Okay.
Elon Musk wanted to put all gasoline cars out of business. He sees
But
all
he also.
the
But what did he make PayPal?
He made PayPal.
He did a whole bunch of major, like, oh my God, blow your mind. If I was that smart, I would have already done it things. So you know what I'm saying? Like to give people advice based on, this one guy that pulled the sword out of the stone is sort of like that. Really? Like we should all try to pull the sword out. What if I can't pull the sword out of the stone?
Then you're supposed to do something else. The
What?
sword is not for you, but you have
What
to
if
find
society
out.
doesn't? What if my thing
No
is,
one can stop you from doing that.
Yes, but
okay.
they can't stop me from trying to do that. But the system can make me destitute and die by not having a place to live, by having the police kick me out of anywhere because I exist. And if I don't have capital, then I can't do those
you will
things.
overcome. If you keep persevering, if you keep believing, you will.
Maybe
That's your belief.
If I don't die first.
So you don't think
No, but that's up to you though. That's what
Is
you really
it?
want.
But you're literally
I swear to
saying
God.
that if no one has tried, has ever failed. Or fails ultimately, I should say. You're saying there's no one that tried the whole time and still failed?
Yeah, pretty much. Though, if you know what you're here to do, if you know your purpose, if you want to really do
Like,
something
I don't know my
bad,
purpose.
they will piss you off if you don't do it. Something that keeps you up at night, well, you got to find that.
What if
Then you will do
tomorrow
that.
I'm at work and the shelf falls something might break my spine, but I try hard.
Well,
And they decide to
I
take
know
care
for
of
a
me
fact-
because I smoke weed, and it's going to be I don't get a workers' comp. So there's no reason for them
Well-
to take care of me. It's a backup thing because it's a system decided because of a law we don't owe you anything. And I
Okay,
could
well-
keep trying, but
a couple things.
I'm not saying. Well, obviously,
No,
we're
yeah,
not saying
yeah,
we
it's an
shouldn't
extreme, but,
try,
yeah.
but yeah, it's an extreme. We're taking it to an extreme. But at the same
There's
time,
two things.
Yeah.
There's no accidents, first of all, in life. Everything that happens to us will track. Proven fact.
I don't think that's proven.
it's
fact.
definitely not a proven fact,
No.
but a whole
You
other
can't
show.
prove that fact.
Huh?
You can't prove it. There's no way you can prove that fact. If a kid is running and playing in the ocean
okay.
and gets sucked by a riptide, you're thinking that the kid who's not even thinking about the riptide is bringing it upon
I mean, if
himself.
we're going
for
to
the
talk that
riptide.
at a fundamental level in quantum mechanics,
But
that
you-
there is no, then everything is accidental. Because it's on that level.
No. There's no accidents.
But it's
There's a good book you should read.
It's called-
Well,
If you're
okay,
one of it's
okay,
called
let's
indeterminacy.
backing up for a second.
yeah, we'll go into
An accident. Do you have to define accident? If you say, well, that's just a chain of events that led to this thing, so
and
it's
then you
not
need
accidental.
determinism.
Well, then that's a chain of events that led to some. That's a causal chain of events. That's an accident is when the causal chain of events does not go as planned. Right? There's a
Why is this
causal
plan.
Is it an accident that the riptide ripped the child into the
The-
water? You could say no, it's not an accident because the water moves around and this creates a riptide and that's just what happens and the kid didn't know, but it wasn't an accident because
And-
the universe works in certain ways. Well, yeah, I would say it's an accident because the mom didn't want the kid to die and neither did the kid. So that is an accident because
What's
the causal
different type of
chain
accident?
did not go as where it was supposed to go, and therefore it becomes an accident. Or I'm driving, my tires are supposed to grip the ground, and I expect them to. I hydroplane. Maybe you could say I attracted it by being concerned, but fuck. Then what?
For
Then you're
anything to
fucking
be
doomed. What? Not concern myself with hydroplaning in the water? I mean, that would be foolhardy. So, that's a contradiction in of itself to say that because I'm concerned about this thing that it's bringing it upon me, or like if I'm riding a motorcycle, like that I'm constantly looking and defensively driving, that I'm bringing it upon myself to be in an accident. So I should back off and not think. That would make no sense.
No,
You see what I mean?
The problem
So-
is people are not special driving. They're not driving. You see that all
No,
the
I
time.
know. I'm just giving you an example. of
if
the
I'm
thing.
hydroplaning on purpose for the fuck because I want to have fun. I'm not
Say
gonna get
you
in a
say
wreck.
now.
I've said since I was 9. When it comes to
Okay.
driving.
What? Look, I knock on wood. I'll tell you what, man.
There's
I-
a good book, Zero Limits. Check it out.
Look, you can read whatever books you want.
They
saying, though,
they
that-
explain these things scientifically,
It
which
does- they're-
tonight I might not be competent enough to explain. But I know exactly, believe 100%. What I'm trying to
But-
explain.
I
So
mean,
you
that-
believe in then determinism?
You determine your life. You're more in charge of your life than you think.
Well, you can't say both of those things are mutually exclusive. So, like, if there's no accidents, that means there's an implied plan, which means there's a deterministic.
There's a term exactly.
So you're saying that nothing could change from what it would be.
I mean,
So you can't have it's so free will and determinism are mutually exclusive.
like I have free will, right?
But according to
just to experiment, like I always do in my head, to
Okay.
fuck around and see what would happen. But is that really what I wanted to do? Is that really what's keeping me up at night, or what excites me?
Mhm.
I mean, I could do something else. I know I have free will, but is it really free will? To me, I don't even.
so
I really want to do what I found out I'm supposed to do.
but if nothing happens, nothing by accident, then it's everything is happening for some reason. So that means there's a plan, and if nothing happens by accident, everything was as planned, then it's deterministic. So how can you have free will in that deterministic setting? How can you choose against the plan?
And
if
who's
there's
making
no
the
action?
choice? Who's determining?
Well, he's assuming a God as a plan.
God,
Yeah.
the God has done this.
If nothing happens by accident, you're assuming there's a plan and someone has created this plan, right?
Or you subconsciously create the plan through your own attraction.
Okay, so when you have God, you have the devil. When you have positive, you have the negative, right? When you have something that excites you, you have something that attacks your mind or whatever it is that like shoots your spirit down. You don't feel as good. You hate life one day. One day you love life.
I don't
one day
think
you hate
any
life.
of that, but I don't know. You mean like go on?
You're not like if you ever done, I don't know, like when you're drunk, you fucking happy, extremely happy.
Maybe.
Well, why do people drink?
I don't know. You could drink some brown liquor and be sad about
Or
some shit.
yeah, or Coke or whatever. Whatever have you tried that made you feel like you're fucking superhuman? Like
Sure.
Okay, so
I haven't actually done anything that made me feel superhuman.
I have.
I have.
I mean, it might be interesting to try, but I feel like I might get addicted.
Now
to that feeling.
you probably would.
Yeah,
Now
so
what
I
I
don't
found,
want
now
that.
what I wanted to do, like as a mission, my mission, to feel like that
I don't even
naturally.
play video games anymore.
How do I do that naturally without spending money on this shit, pills or whatever it is, or whatever, or that craze that I was
I
talking
heard
about
if you
earlier.
hold your breath for a really long time.
So, yeah, my point is when you read these books or when you talk to certain people, when you find, because the stuff that excites you, it
Yeah.
happens for a reason. That's
Oh,
what
sure.
you're meant to do. You're supposed to follow that path.
Set out
Your
by who?
huh?
Set out by who?
What do you mean set up by who?
You said you're supposed to follow that path.
Well,
That
okay, so
implies
if you want
someone,
to talk about God, we're all connected. Like all of our living things are all connected. If something affects you, it's going to affect all of us eventually. Society. You know, if anything,
whole different show.
a whole different. Yeah. I can show a video on that alone
And
that we can watch before
I do need
the
to wrap
next
soon for me.
the next episode. But we're all. It's the not a good
Well-
great book. Got it. There's so many books out there. The Science
Yes,
of Getting
there are.
Rich.
There are a lot of books.
He talks about the divine. God wants to live in all of us. That's why we're created. It's not just one thing watching. It's this thing wanting to experience in all of us. We're all connected through the one source.
You know, I feel like that. I mean, again,
So-
this is another
So
episode, but
when Jesus was trying to teach these things,
there
when
might
he-
be some truth to that.
there is fucking truth to it. When
Because, well, if
Jesus,
you think about consciousness as a wave,
Well, I think
a
that-
shared wave,
I
we're
think
all
we
connected.
definitely are interconnected because it's an interplanetary, interspecial web. All of life we're connected on by being in just a locale. So since it's a contained, there's no.
You mean being on Earth?
I just say
as
by
living?
basically cohabitating. Of course, we impact each other, but I don't think that there's anything necessarily divine about that. And I don't see.
it's very divine, and it's crazy how life can be so amazing. Like when you find
How about animals? Are animals in this web with us?
they
I
are.
think
The
we should
difference
do
is
this.
they're
That's the whole
not
next show.
spiritual.
Okay,
We
so
have that spirit, that God in the flesh thing that we created in His image. That we use the word His and God and Trinity and all that, which limits people's thinking. Like the Trinity thing. And this is a whole other episode too.
Yeah, pretty much everything. So I want to respond, but it's we get into it.
yeah. So one
so
thing.
there's the confusion, all these different segregations and different denominations.
Yeah.
And you don't find none of these words in the Bible to begin with.
Okay.
Okay.
So right.
So Jesus, he was trying to teach like the belief level, or if you such belief as much as it will be done unto you, as you believe out, and he was healing people and stuff.
Mhm.
And Jill was the only one healing people. On the book Zero Limits, this Hawaiian doctor was
Yeah, there's-
healing patients without even seeing them by clearing himself first. Whatever you saw, a person getting raped or whatever, you noticed that you were there, that you witnessed that experience. Everything has to do with you. You have to take full responsibility. It's nuts, I'm telling you. But
What?
You
All
got-
right.
you
Yeah.
gotta-
well,
yeah,
you
well,
can
next
expand
episode,
on
you-
that later. Well, one
No
thing
accidents, no
relating
accidents,
to
period.
the somewhat not the I don't know.
so you
One of
have the negative, the opposition. The great book, Outwitting the Devil. Probably read that first. When
that's
he
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill, same author of Think Rich. Ever read Outwitting the Devil?
Right? I read half of it.
Definitely
I
read
didn't
all
get
of it.
through
Check
the
out, put
whole
on
thing.
audio. Like I go to that every other 4
It
months
was all right.
on audio. It's
I
crazy.
don't
So
know
he
that
uses
stuff. I don't really. I like listen to it, and I'm like, I don't
that
know.
fear that we talk about. What if shit falls on my head or whatever? That's the devil's, whatever you want to call it. Lies to keep you from believe in the truth or what you're here meant to do.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
can't
not.
even address
Once
that
they
'cause I
start
don't-
getting
yeah.
all like about the devil and this and that, like I don't.
Call
I
it
don't-
what you want.
yeah,
There's two powers out
sure,
there that
sure.
are almost fucking equal. Only the devil's got 98% of the world, and God. or
So
what-
there's a similar thing like, okay, so God created
So
the devil, right? So why did he create his own adversary? How is the creator of that not able to at all times basically not be co-equal? If you were the creator of that, how are you going to create somebody that's equal to yourself that you can't?
Well, he's not equal.
It's in its own sense, like it's a common philosophical thing. God can't make a rock so big that he can't lift. It's the same thing. How can you create an adversary that he's incapable of doing? He's the creator and the arbiter of that power. So it seems like
he's supposed to have free will. That is to choose your own path. But then again, it might be determined already.
Is
the whole. I mean, listen.
But anyway, I don't want to get into religion because
but the religion thing though, that's another.
Either way, because you're still bordering on religion. You're bringing up all this.
What's religion though? I never understood
stuff. A belief, or like so I don't remember. Oh damn it! I just read this.
Religion should be love.
Is it Oscar Wilde that said this? Someone look it up. It's religion is a blind man looking for a black cat in a black room where it doesn't exist, but finding it.
Yeah, exactly. That's religion.
It is.
Yeah, separate, segregation, fear of each other. That
well,
kind of shit.
Not even that. That's part of it. That's part of it.
What we're talking about is.
But you've also still found the black cat that doesn't exist. So when you're describing you're blind in a dark room, describing the thing that you found that doesn't exist, it can be anything. So if it's denomination, segregation, because you're making the shot. Is what at the end of the day, when you find the black cat in the black room, when you're blind,
anything I talk about,
and you say that it's there. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying religion in general.
All this shit
so it expands past.
All this religion, confusion, find a black cat, preachers preaching in sheep's clothing, whatever. Going back to the Catholic, the Council of Nicaea, all these Spartan people.
Look, here's the thing. I don't give the Bible more credence than any other religious text. So until it was Oscar Wilde. Religion is like a blind man looking in a black room for a black cat that isn't there and finding it. Damn, I sort of nailed it almost.
It is
pretty good. But okay, so I'll leave us on this because we're gonna get real super deep.
I can't wait for this episode.
And folks that are still with us, and those of you hitting this up on the archive, try to catch it live because it's really cool when you do that. And leave a comment. Nobody left a comment on YouTube. Please leave a comment. Tell us what you want the next episode to be about. Is there something you want to expand upon? I know that. Facebook might have ended.
That just ended.
I watched some of you guys out there. Might have seen the list of things I wanted to talk about today. One of them was objective truth, and I'll say something that sounds religious. A lot of religious people think I'm talking about God when I say this. If you want to call this God, I'll be okay. But I do believe that there's a singular truth, a singular reality within the shared universe we all live. As time collapses in the great zipper of the arrow of time, I don't know what theory of time and existence you believe in. But to me, I believe there's one universal, inalienable, unarguable reality that something happened. The truth does exist.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever was, whatever is, and whatever will be, there is a singular truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that truth exists.
Absolutely.
Right hard.
And that's it. If you want to call that God, then fine. But tell you what, God, that truth is not like thinking about whether or not you're masturbating. That truth is not thinking about whether or not you went to Sunday or school or not.
How did that truth get created?
It just is. It simply is.
How do we create?
It's called a brute.
What do you mean? It's just, it is. Like, what do you mean? How do we create?
Like, it was like out of nothing, right?
No, not necessarily.
Well, we're labeling. It is not a created thing. It's an extant thing that we've labeled. The label is bringing a label into
it's
it. Actually
the source
created
of
it.
Creation itself.
No. It is what exists, what is, what was, what will be. That is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with a creator or some kind of spiritual shit.
Everything that's created is through that source.
I didn't say nothing about some source.
Yeah.
Now you're perverting what I'm saying. I didn't say shit about a source. I
He's
said
saying
what was, what is now, right now. This is the truth. This is the truth. When we leave here and you say your version of the reality, it could be exactly the same as mine. It could be all exact, or we could be off a little bit or a lot of it. I don't know. We could be devious and tell someone a complete falsehood about what just happened in the moment of the now and what is the future or what happened 10 minutes ago. But there's a singular truth that did happen and a singular reality of everything that happened here, of everything that happened anywhere where we don't even perceive it. That is a singular reality, that crash of existence into being whatever your theory is. And the past is made of it, the current is made of it, and the future is made of it. It's just the existence of things existing together at the same time, interacting with each other. Could be heavenly bodies, could be the air around us. It could be the food in your gut that's being digested right now by your body, creating some of that 11-month cycle that makes a whole new Aldi. That is part of the truth that is occurring right now. And all of that information, supposedly, is never lost, nor is it ever created from nothing. There's a conservation of energy and information, right? The causal chain, the reverberations of the sound waves coming out of my vocal cords. These are all information that moves these molecules. It happened in the universe. It is part of the truth. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Yeah. I didn't create a new thing. I just simply created the energy transferred. Now this information occurred. In theory, all of that can be all backwards, and all the energy could be retransmitted somehow. In theory, and this is where physics and science deviates from reality, in theory, you can crash two eggs together and mathematically reverse them back together into whole eggs. Now, can you do that in real life? Because of all of those things, the external things that happen. But once the egg is smashed, the truth exists. Now, if you go and say this egg never was smashed, that goes against the ultimate truth, is what I'm saying. Is that what, you know what I'm saying? And I think we should all be able to agree that there is an ultimate truth of what all ever was, or what is, and whatever will be. You know what I mean? Right. And I think that's where the objective reality of our existence, even within a society, but just in general, we've been struggling with this as humanity. And this is the animals, I'm sure, don't struggle with this crap, right? And this is where they don't stress. They stress when they're about to get eaten, or when they give birth and they got to watch them, the kids, so they don't get eaten, right? Or when they want to try to fuck and they can't, and they just really fucking want to really fucking bad. Or what if they die? If they die in like a week and they don't get to fuck, right? You see what I'm saying? Those are stressful things. You don't have to live under that stress. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the cicada, I believe, is a prime example. To come out like 17 fucking years or some shit under the earth. Day. Yeah, and it gets like a week to fuck, maybe. If it doesn't fuck, it does not get, it dies, yo. Yeah. That's stress.
18-year-old person.
Stress. 17 fucking years. When you go through puberty, basically, right, you totally transform. And then you might not get to fuck.
And that's the moral of the story.
And that is the end. Yeah, it always
you might not get to fuck.
It always ends up being about fucking. All right. Thank you for joining us again on The Void. We had Michael and Aldi here today. If you want to be a guest on the show, hit me up, PM me. Maybe we'll work it in. We can, even if you're from far away, we can either Facebook or Skype, or there's ways we can do it. Technology is great. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Comment, like, share. We're trying to make this a big thing so that we could talk about cool shit. So thanks again for joining. Deuces.
Signing out from Earth.
Man.
From Earth.
Play a bomb that's less than stupid. Play a bomb that's less than stupid. Play a bomb, play a bomb that's play a bomb that's less than stupid. Play a bomb that's less than stupid. Play a bomb that's less than stupid. Less than stupid. Stupid.